Atlanta traffic. Sitting in it means headaches, wasted time, and missed opportunities. But taking the train or bus isn't always your best bet.
Almost every day when I get on MARTA, there's a situation that happens.
Y'all got to do better.
So we're asking you, sir, how could MARTA meet the moment?
By embracing technology.
Focus on the basics, reliable, safe, clean.
And delivering your questions.
Why aren't all the stations treated equal?
What are we doing about expanding the MARTA?
I have concerns of maybe noise and safety.
To the people in charge. We have the head of MARTA right there, the chief policy officer for the city of Atlanta.
From Atlanta News First and the Center for Civic Innovation, this is the future of transit in Atlanta.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us for this Atlanta News First special on the future of transit in Atlanta. I'm senior reporter Patrick Quinn. Now, the average driver in Metro Atlanta spends 65 hours per year sitting in traffic. That's time you cannot get back. Now, it's one thing to complain about the gridlock. It's another to talk about sensible and safe solutions. So, Atlanta News First put the head of MARTA and top city officials in a room with transit advocates and everyday drivers and riders for a town hall meeting focused on the fixes. But first, we hit the streets of Atlanta to ask you our most pressing question: how can MARTA meet the moment? How could MARTA meet this moment?
I guess maybe more train stations.
Atlanta is growing, and so it should have more than 4 directions of north, south, east, and west.
I ride this short line just from Candler Park down to 5 Points, and so it's typically pretty fine. The stations, I think, themselves could use a little bit more cleanliness. I really don't run into problems on board on the trains too much.
Almost every day when I get on MARTA, there's a situation that happens. I was coming from Dunwoody to 5 Points today, and the train was stuck for a little bit, so it's just inconvenient.
Older men will try to come to approach me and things, and it's really uncomfortable. You don't really feel safe, and we know MARTA police is out there, but they're not really on site out there.
There's no room for improvement. so it's like there's no more room in Atlanta downtown, but they could expand out of town. Yes.
Would that help you?
Yes.
Okay, that's just a few voices talking about how MARTA can meet the moment. I mean, I could go anywhere in the city to a different station and have a completely different reaction. I could even come to some of you guys and have a different reaction in terms of how MARTA can meet the moment. And in fact, that's what I'm going to do. We get to run this show, so I'm going to ask you, how can MARTA meet the moment? We have the head of MARTA right there, representatives from MARTA right here. Obviously, there's no right or wrong answer. We're all here because we want a constructive conversation. We all believe in the future of transit in Atlanta, but let's ask some of y'all, how could MARTA meet the moment?
I think MARTA can meet the moment by integrating both regular rail with Amtrak. We know Amtrak's coming in here. How could MARTA infuse that with its rail stations and then have better commuter in and out of Atlanta?
Jonathan, I hope you're listening. We got some bright minds in the room. I mean, in terms of transit, these are the people that you want to hear from. Ma'am, how could MARTA meet the moment?
I think MARTA can meet its moment by improving its sanitary conditions, first of all, and also making it safer. Also shaping a better public perception of the station overall, and increasing accessibility by encouraging more commuters to take the train rather than drive and be stuck in traffic all day.
All right, let's do one more. I just saw a straggler walk in the room. He also is a position of, he could have something at stake. This is Matt Westmoreland, city council member. Thanks for showing up on time. I'm going to remember that next time we have a council meeting. How could MARTA meet the moment?
First of all, I'll focus on the basics, reliable, safe, clean, being able to get onto a bus and a train with the tap of a watch or a credit card. Second, I think, is being really smart and strategic about how we use very limited capital dollars. And then finally, using MARTA's considerable land around Atlanta to build as much housing as possible.
Yeah, that's an informed person right there. Tap to pay. Tap to pay is coming. We're actually going to talk about that very soon. This is Jonathan Hunt. He's the interim CEO, general manager of MARTA. Maybe you saw some of the headlines. The last general manager, CEO, suddenly retired, immigration status issues, and Jonathan was appointed about a month ago, something like that, in that realm. Jonathan, you've already said you don't want the permanent job, but you are the interim right now, and
correct.
You're in charge. We're going to talk, this whole night's about the future of transit in Atlanta, and we're going to talk about some long-term goals and the long-term range of transit. But in terms of the short term, let me just paint this picture for MARTA. In 6 months, all the things I'm about to say are going to come online. MARTA's getting new trains, brand new trains. The first of those are going to start running in April. MARTA's getting a new bus rapid transit line coming from Summerhill. You've probably seen the construction going on. That's getting started in April. MARTA just redesigned its bus network. There's going to be new routes for everyone who rides the bus all across the city. That's getting started in April. And you heard Matt Westmoreland talk about tap to pay and fare gates. They're getting new fare gates to kind of make things a little bit more seamless getting into and out of MARTA. That's also coming on board in April. I mean, can we just take that's a big, 4 really big things. How could the landscape of MARTA change from what people know about it by April?
Wow, that's a lot in that question. So part of what we're doing is when I came in, met with the leadership team, and we shifted our priorities. And our priorities shifted to 2 key metrics, ridership and customer satisfaction. Our 4 main focus goals while I'm in the job is increasing operational reliability, increasing the safety and security of our system, becoming World Cup ready for the largest sporting event on the globe, as well as focusing in on delivering key capital projects and advancing those capital projects that can't be delivered during my tenure. So yes, we have those 4 large things, but there are subsets of those.
I want to take a second. Here are the trains. I saw this on y'all's Facebook. These are what the new trains are going to look like. I think this was the second one that's in town right now in Atlanta. And right, first ones are set to come on board. It sounds like you're going to be rolling them out kind of over the course of a few years. But the first one's coming on board in April or around that time frame.
Let me correct you on one point.
Okay, please.
We're not waiting. So we have an outside entity that's embedded with us to increase our operational reliability. As those rail cars are tested and burned in, we're putting them into revenue service. So by World Cup, we're looking to have 9 to 12 cars in revenue service.
Safety. I mean, I hear it all the time. You hear it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't ride MARTA because it's not safe. I think the reality of how safe MARTA actually is versus the perception of safety, I think is really important to point out. If you look at some of the aggravated assault numbers across MARTA right now, they're actually down right now across the agency. I think that's worth pointing out. Homicides right now, from my knowledge, there still hasn't been a single homicide at MARTA this year. There was an incident involving a bus driver, but in terms of a rider itself, there has not been any homicides on board MARTA. So you are fighting against this perception versus reality issue.
So the reality is last 5 years through the end of 2024, crime is down 50%. 2025, MPD stepped it up. As of the end of September, we're now down 25% year to date. Violent crime this year to date, down over 31%.
Right, but it doesn't feel like it.
But it doesn't feel safe, right? So we still have work to do. And when you say it doesn't feel safe, we have to increase ridership. You could have 3 individuals who may be unhoused, may not be in the best straits of life, and if you're on that train car alone or only with a couple of other people who are strangers, you're not going to feel safe. If you have that same scenario, but in a full train car, you may not even notice those folks. But this is what we do. We practice empathetic enforcement in MPD, and they do an exceptional job. Now, with that said, we are going to enforce. Loitering is not permitted on our system. Sleeping on the cars isn't permitted in our system. Are MPD going to be able to be everywhere? No. But everybody in this room and everybody watching is the CEO. Please use our See and Say Something app. Report it. Report it. We will respond. We will respond.
Okay, last question. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask about the CEO search. You're the
Yes.
interim. Everyone wants to know who the next head of MARTA is going to be. This is a nationwide search. Y'all just contracted with a firm. Where are we at right now? And I know you're not directly involved. You've got a lot more day-to-day operational stuff you got to take care of. Who would you like to see in a new leader?
That's a great question, but I think what's more important is not who I would like to see in a new leader. That's certainly up to the board and the search committee. I think in talking to all those potential candidates, let me explain what that leader is going to find. What you're going to find is a deputy general manager who is the first person who was an intern to make it to the C-suite at MARTA with over 25 years of experience. You're going to find a chief of police who has decades of police service experience at APD and MPD. You're going to find a safety head who has experience from Chicago Transit and at least 3 decades of safety experience.
Right, so you've got good bones is what you're arguing.
Outstanding.
Lastly, though, what's the timetable? Like, will we have someone ahead of MARTA ahead of the World Cup?
I hate to, that's not my decision. I'm going to be transparent and truthful. That's the decision for the search committee in cooperation. Well, it's all the board, but the board. And they're going to set that timetable. The search is going.
Do you have a gut? Have they told you anything? How long you're expected to be on board?
I will share that I talk to my bosses every single day in some capacity.
What else will you share?
I'll share a lot. I'll share a lot.
Still ahead, when will Atlanta get more MARTA? It has been almost 10 years. Y'all know this. We have not seen one project come online. My question to both of y'all is, why not?
Shall I jump in first?
Oh, yeah.
Courtney English is the Chief Policy Officer for the City of Atlanta. I wanted both of y'all on stage because I wanted to talk about more MARTA. A quick run through more MARTA. Passed in 2016, right? It's been almost 10 years. It is a half-penny sales tax. All of that money goes into a pot that the city and MARTA can use to build more MARTA capital projects. It has been almost 10 years. Y'all know this. We have not seen one project come online. My question to both of y'all is, why not?
Shall I jump in first?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So
I've only been there for 4 to 10. So,
right.
You know.
So let's first start with capital delivery. Have we missed some time frames? Yes. Are these largely complex, messy, multi-jurisdictional projects? Certainly.
I just want to press you on that because I talked to the last CEO about this too,
Yeah.
and I get it. Like when something passes in 2016 by the voters, it takes some time to get the wheels going. Certainly, we'll give you that. And then there was a pandemic, and we were all affected by the pandemic, so that's going to certainly impact capital projects. Also, construction prices, they went up, so that's going to impact capital projects. Then environmental reviews need to happen to actually get these things off the ground. I'm not saying it's not easy. I'm not saying y'all didn't have barriers in the way. I think we all had to kind of handle a lot of these barriers in the last 10 years as well. I just don't know if we've seen the same urgency that we would like to see, that you go to these, not to say excuses, but explanations that make sense, but I think people just want to see more. So how do you get there?
Well, we're doing it. We're doing it. We're delivering with Summerhill. We're doing it with 5 Points. You're seeing projects come online and more cranes swinging. But the urgency of now is here. I think Courtney is certainly in the urgency of now, as well as Mayor Dickens.
Courtney, I'll ask you. This is a tough one, I know. Sorry. Not just for you, but for MARTA as well. There's an audit going on right now about the More MARTA program that I'll just say it kind of quickly, is there's $70 million that the city of Atlanta says is owed to the city that didn't go to the More MARTA program. And now there are competing audits from MARTA and from the city of Atlanta. MARTA says that number at last check was closer to less than $1 million. So there's about a $69 million difference between what the city of Atlanta says we're owed that money, or the More MARTA program is owed that money, versus what MARTA is saying is happening. So there's a financial, kind of elephant in the room between y'all two, and I recognize that. I guess with that in mind, Courtney, which I know you're very aware of, how can y'all improve this relationship, how the city and how MARTA work together? I imagine y'all got to button up this financial issue first, and then what can you do? And Jonathan, you can weigh in as well.
So I think first of all, I appreciate the question, and I acknowledge the frustrations that Atlantans have had about the More MARTA program. Generally, we share in those frustrations. I think Jonathan And candidly, the folks at MARTA share those frustrations. What I will tell you is that we have a fundamentally different relationship with MARTA with our current leadership than we have.
Interesting. Than Kali.
That it is what it is.
Better? Fundamentally better?
Fundamentally better. Yeah, fundamentally better. I'll just be, look, we're here in a town hall forum. We didn't laugh at the same jokes all the time. And I think now with a new leader in place, I think we got a new chief of staff in place, and we had a great relationship with the former chief of staff as well. But I think we have a different relationship that will allow us to move projects forward in a different way. And as it relates to tough issues like the audit, we do have a position. We stand on that position. We stand by the work that was done by our audit firm. Our board, led by our board chair, Jennifer Ide, who is an Atlanta appointee, is working really, really hard to sort through those issues. They've actually taken it on themselves. I believe there's a MARTA board member, Segura, who's in the room. Hey, Segura. Oh, yeah, she's here. Hey, Segura. And if I missed anybody, my apologies. But the MARTA board has taken that on to help us resolve. And we are looking forward to receiving their recommendations. That is a tough issue. What it leads to, though, is when we believe that we're owed $70 million, when we run into a pandemic where prices skyrocket, you do have to make different decisions because you're not able to do all that you thought you would have done on the front end of that work. And so we're sorting through that now with MARTA. I'm sure we'll talk about what some of those different decisions are in the future. But what I will say is that we do have a fundamentally different relationship with MARTA's leadership now than we had in the past.
Progress. I think we like hearing that. Coming up, a multi-billion-dollar plan to breathe new life into the Atlanta neighborhoods. City leaders say we're systemically underinvested in.
This happened by years of malicious policy decisions, decisions that candidly were designed to separate neighborhoods and separate people based on race and class.
We are going to talk about what the city announced. I don't know if y'all heard about it. It's a $5 billion neighborhoods initiative that would really prioritize South and West Side Atlanta. And a part of that $5 billion plan is roughly $2 billion that will be for transportation. And first, I want to ask you about this plan on transportation. I've heard this includes light rail on the south side of the Beltline. I've heard this plan includes extending the streetcar, Atlanta streetcar, both west and east. And I've heard that there will be 4 new infill stations, MARTA stations, that will be built as part of this funding mechanism. Can you confirm that? Is that part of y'all's plan?
True.
All true.
Guilty as charged. Yes.
Okay. We hadn't heard that yet, so we're breaking some news tonight. Officially, we hadn't heard that yet. The $5 billion plan, I'm going to bring up a slide. So it's going to be about extending TADS, and I'm going to talk about TADS in a second. But I want to just show you this slide. And Courtney, I know you know this slide. Yeah. You are prioritizing South and West Atlanta. Why? And what do these slides reflect?
Yeah. So if you look at the slides above me, if you were to draw a line just as depicted above from northwest Atlanta to southeast Atlanta, and then put some statistics on the board, you're going to very quickly begin to see a picture of a tale of two cities. Opportunity is absolutely concentrated in this city, and it's concentrated for folks who live above that line. Below that line, there's a mixture of incomes, but it is absolutely where the highest concentration of poverty resides. This didn't happen, but nobody in this room was the cause of this. This happened by years of malicious policy decisions, decisions that candidly were designed to separate neighborhoods and separate people based on race and class. I don't want anybody walking around thinking that this happened by accident. Quite the opposite. The system is actually working exactly as it was intended to work. It was designed to create these outcomes.
So you're trying to shake up the system.
And because we have to. Because it was created to create these outcomes, it will require intention and direct action and direct and immediate urgency to correct.
Okay, so how are you going to get to $5 billion? Here's the breakdown that you guys have posted where that money is going to go. You see at the bottom $1.9 billion going to transit. You can see where the rest of the money is planned. $5 billion, that's a lot of money. It's not a guarantee. Sure. Should I try and explain TADS in 1 minute? Okay, I'm going to do it.
I can
I'm
do
going to
it
stand up. Nadine, will you start a clock? TADS, it's a tax allocation district. It's a funding mechanism that the city has used since the 90s to invest into communities, to help build them up. Some of the best examples are Atlantic Station. Before what it is today, where there's a movie theater and restaurants and hotels and shopping and all the things, it was industrial. It was run down. So the city said, hey, Atlanta Public Schools, hey, Fulton County, you give us your property tax increments for a certain amount of time, we're going to pump that into Atlantic Station. In return, we'll let you have that money, and then those TADs will end, and we'll take that incremental tax revenue back at the end of that range. So that's what the city has done. They've gotten into deals with the Atlanta Public Schools and Fulton County to take some of that money, and they use it for initiatives just like this one. And how did I do on time? Was that a minute? Wow. Oh, wow. That's pretty good for TADs. TADs are, I mean, I cut some corners, but I was emailing with Fulton County today. They said since the 90s, they have given $500 million to the city of Atlanta from revenue that should have been coming into them, to the city of Atlanta, to go toward these TAD efforts. So last week, as part of this initiative, you said, let's extend all TADs for another 25 years, and that will bring in $5 billion. You need Fulton County to say, yep, you can have our money, and you need Atlanta Public Schools to say, yep, you can have our money. So you need them to say yes quickly. How are those conversations going? Are they going to say yes?
I don't know. We haven't, conversations are ongoing with both. First, our city council has to say yes, and so we introduced legislation to extend the city's increment. We'll be having additional conversations with APS in Fulton County. APS has said to us that we have to demonstrate to them a very clear correlation between student achievement and a TAD extension. We think that correlation is crystal clear, actually. You know, there are far too many kids in this city who are going to school hungry. There are far too many kids in this city who are going to school homeless. You cannot solve that problem from inside of the classroom. That's a neighborhood challenge. You have to solve that problem by creating healthy, whole neighborhoods throughout the city that are safe, where folks can work their way up the economic ladder and ultimately live a choice-filled life. And so we'll be making that case to APS. And as it relates to Fulton County, we'll have that conversation with them as well. But this is happening on our watch, and we can do something about it because we have these types of tools that don't cost anybody anything. They don't divert money. They don't raise taxes on anybody. They don't divert money from anybody. The analogy or the story you talked about, Atlantic Station was it was a vacant steel mill. So anybody who's been in Atlanta longer than 30 years, it was a vacant steel mill. Atlantic Station was producing $25,000 a year for all 3 taxing jurisdictions. Does anybody want to take a guess about how much it's producing today? And not 200 million. It's a little high. You're a little ambitious. You're messing up my flow. We were supposed to work up to it. It's a little high. But anybody want to come a little bit closer? Not 200 million. It's producing $14 million a year currently for the Atlanta public school system, $7 million for the city of Atlanta, and $7 million for Fulton County. And so that demonstrates the power of the opportunity.
Last question for you. We have a lot of rail people in the crowd. We got to hear about the South Side. Yeah. Like, can you give me any specifics? Can you give me a timeline? We know y'all are prioritizing the South Side, and the posture from your administration is you're not ruling out the East Side yet. You want to get to it, but your priority is the South Side, having rail along the Beltline there.
Yeah, I think you said it. You said it really well. Because of the stats that we just talked about, we made, albeit difficult decision, to rephase, if you will, the projects as it related to more MARTA and light rail. We remain committed to light rail on the Beltline. We're just going to start where we believe we can help most people the fastest. And so our notion is that we're going to start there. We're going to prioritize those projects with that plan.
And you support the $3.5 billion plan that has rail all 22 miles of the Beltline?
I support us getting funding for all 22-mile loops. Now,
see, it's tough because it's this piecemeal approach. I think it's tough for some people to stomach. Like, if you're going to do it on the South Side, why can't you commit to the whole thing? Or don't do it just on the South Side, because don't you want it all connected? That would make it all kind of make sense. So I'm not...
No, that's a fair... No, let's talk about it.
You're right.
I think that's perfectly fair. I'm saying today that we are absolutely committed to building rail on the south side of the city. What the mayor has talked about is being open to conversations, even about East Side Trail. He said that's not breaking news. He said that a few weeks ago, and I think it was reported by some outlets. What we have to do is figure out how to pay for it. And so that's our challenge. And so I hear you loud and clear that we got to, sure, it'll be a phenomenal thing to have the entire 22-mile loop done. But we have to do the work of engaging with community to make sure that the community is on board with that vision. And we're committed to having that conversation.
Advocates say they're optimistic about the future of transit in Atlanta. We'll hear from them next. Let's hear more from the community. We just talked to two officials about a lot, MARTA and City of Atlanta wise. Let's kind of tap into how some of our community advocates are feeling. Let's bring up Deborah Scott with Georgia Stand Up right here in orange. And Matthew Rao, Beltline Rail Now, and Hans Klein with Better Atlanta Transit. Panelists, thank you for joining us. First, I want to start, Deborah, with you. Deborah Scott with Georgia Stand Up has been a part of this city for, we're not going to say years, for a while. When you hear South Side, prioritization from Courtney English sitting in the seat where you're sitting,
warm, too.
Okay, hopefully not too warm.
I had to move over like, ooh, what's going on here?
Those graphics we showed about the disparity in the tale of two cities, you know this so well. Let's see if I can find it while also talking to you. How does that sound to you?
It sounds like a long time coming. For those South Side residents, where are you? Yes, I really think that it's an ambitious plan, but I'm excited if they can actually pull it off. Because for so long, the investment has not been on the southwest side, on the west side, and certainly in the communities that we fight for and care about. And so we're one of those organizations that actually, and I haven't heard it today, expanded or helped to expand MARTA to Clayton County. For 2 years, we knocked on doors and asked people, do they want transit to be expanded? Remember, for 4 years, Clayton County went without any buses. People were walking along the streets, going to the world's busiest airport that actually sits in Clayton County, but could not get there. And so the lack of connectivity in some of these areas is really an issue.
Okay, Matthew, you heard Southside Rail. When you hear Courtney English say, well, we're doing it. If we get TADS extended, we're doing it. How does that sound?
It sounds great.
Yeah.
Because 22 miles of Beltline Rail is what the project is. I think we are being posed a false choice that we either do one thing or we do the other. 2 years ago, we were on the 10-yard line with the East Side Streetcar East Extension. And no football coach will tell you that you're going to back off, a first and goal in order to do some other kind of play. And we need a both-and conversation because the Beltline is about unifying.
These are all visions. These are all plans. Yes. And if all of y'all in Atlanta, y'all have heard promises made, and sometimes those promises have not been kept. Hans, I'll bring you into this. Better Atlanta Transit. Remind us what Better Atlanta Transit's about. And when you hear Courtney talking about Southside Rail, infill stations, extending the streetcar in both directions, what's your take?
Yeah, Better Atlanta Transit wants better transit. And that means it's cost effective and it serves demand and it serves the people that need transit and that need mobility. Now, it just so happens that the greatest demand for mobility and for transit is in the south and west sides of town. So this is a case really where you have the concern for equity and the demand for better transit, cost-effective, serving demand. They overlap very nicely because you have very high transit ridership on the south and west sides of town. So I'm all for...
So you support it? You support Southside Rail along the Beltline?
Hold on. I support south side deployment of transit. I didn't use the word rail, and I didn't use the word Beltline. Very important, right?
Why not?
Because at this point, some of the best routes that are being proposed right now are going beyond the Beltline and serving demand outside the Beltline. The Beltline has become kind of almost an inner city ring, and it's had a lot of gentrification. It's become kind of wealthy neighborhoods. It's time to look beyond that and take transit farther out, both for equity reasons and for good transit reasons. So when you run transit out McDonough Boulevard, that's great. To run transit out Hollowell, that's great. To run transit out Campbellton Road, that's great. That's going beyond the Beltline, and I think that's where you're going to have the greatest equity impacts. And I think that's where you're going to serve the greatest amount of demand as well.
When you hear the posturing by an administration, do you believe them? Do you believe what Courtney's talking about? Do you have that faith that TADS will be extended, these projects will get off the ground, that the vision that in some ways the three of you like in some capacities will actually come to fruition? Are you hopeful, Deborah?
I am hopeful because this is an election year, so this is that time of the year every 4 years where the people get to decide what your agenda is. And so this is a call to action to tell your elected officials what you want and what you need. And they are supposed to represent your interest. So I invite them to call their representatives, call their school board, call the city council, call Fulton County, and let them know what they want. This is that time.
Coming up, Metro Atlanta leaders work to make getting around outside the perimeter a little bit easier and a lot less expensive. And lastly, we're going to talk about OTP transit in Gwinnett and Cobb counties. You've heard some references so far about where things stand right now. We're going to bring Morgan Simmons on stage and China Thomas, and they are going to get mic'd up right now as we do that. To set the stage about Gwinnett and Cobb counties as they're getting mic'd up, we referenced it. Both counties had voter referendums to expand transit, both in Gwinnett and Cobb County. Neither of the referendums referenced MARTA, so none of the money would have gone to MARTA-specific projects, but both referendums were in the billions of dollars. Both would have built new transit centers. Both would have expanded bus routes throughout Gwinnett and Cobb County, and also expanding microtransit, which we're going to talk a lot more. Both of those referendums failed pretty substantially. Voters just didn't want it. Given all of that in Gwinnett and Cobb counties, how can y'all do anything? And what can you do? And what is there an appetite for? And how do you do your job?
That's so layered.
I'll go for that first. Truly, with the referendum failing, it really puts a pause on a lot of projects for us. For federal funding, Courtney said it, it's scarce. It's almost non-existent. For Gwinnett County, we are proposing a new microtransit zone in Gwinnett around our Gwinnett Place area, and it would be funded locally. So moving forward, up until there is any other additional funding sources available, it is truly through general funds and or partnerships.
We need to make sure that we're doing the things that we have control over, so that when the opportunity, if the opportunity presents itself, for us to go back for a referendum opportunity, that we've shown proof of concept. And so that's a lot of what we've been doing.
Real fast, Brave Stadium?
Brave Stadium. So we currently have a Cumberland alternative analysis that is focused on looking at the transportation access within that area. So that's looking at us realigning the current circulator that's there, but also we're even taking into consideration autonomous vehicles. And so there was a recent pursuit of the Lono grant by way of partnership with the Cumberland CID as well as Cobb County for us to look at autonomous vehicles, and that to be something that could traverse in that area. So trying to diversify our fleet and taking into consideration the technology that is, that's pretty much becoming very prevalent in our industry.
Gwinnett County microtransit. Tell me about it first. What is microtransit and how is it expanding right now in Gwinnett?
What I will say is microtransit for Gwinnett County, it is a zone-based service whereby there is a vehicle or vehicles positioned in a certain area that is really designed to serve a community. In addition, not only does it serve a community, but it also serves as first mile, last mile connection. And as I say first mile, last mile connection, just to give an example, I will say in Gwinnett, geographically, there's not sidewalk everywhere. And so what it does is it picks you up at your door and it gets you to that very first bus stop to allow you to go a further distance.
Yeah, and you're expanding. You've seen success so far.
Yes. Right now we have 3 active microtransit zones, one in the city of Snellville, Lawrenceville, and we have a pilot going in Norcross.
It's cheap Uber. It's really cheap Uber. It's like $2.50 a ride. $3 a ride?
$2.50 for us.
$2.50 for
and
you?
Cost efficient. Cheap sounds like
Sorry.
it's not good quality. So
I've got nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with cheap. I will take cheap. Morgan, you guys are expanding your microtransit efforts as well. Why do you think it's working? Why 300%? Ridership's up 300%?
yes, so we currently have a microtransit zone in our Soft Cobb area. That is our first pilot, and so we are approaching our year anniversary at the end of this month. We have seen significant ridership since the start. I think that there is a significant amount of shifts that's happening within the county where people are, that sprawl is happening, not only just within our county, but just throughout the region. So you are seeing people shift a little bit further out. And so there is transit need that this particular area, this particular service area is able to provide.
Next up.
Why aren't all the stations treated equally?
What are we doing about expanding the MARTA?
Then I have concerns of maybe noise and safety issues with beltline rail, and how will those be addressed?
Your questions on the future of transit in Atlanta now answered. Major projects in the works across Metro Atlanta. Your questions on the future of transit now answered.
Hello, my name is Jasmine. My question is, what are we doing about expanding the MARTA outside of, what we currently are at?
Outside of our current jurisdictional partner areas?
Yes.
We are supportive of MARTA expansion. Right now, as it's set up, from founding, there are 2 jurisdictions that can join by public referendum today. That's Gwinnett and that's Cobb. Both of those are outside of my purview. The leadership there, as you've seen from the referendums, there is a push. I'm not going to get ahead of the other thing. Clearly a push for more transit there. What those plans are, we're happily to partner with them in any plan development. But that's really a local Gwinnett and a local Cobb decision, and far be it from us to insert ourselves.
Sure.
Yeah. One thing I'll just say is that one of the issues is you've got to show it to people. And let me just be candid. There's a lot of reasons why MARTA hasn't expanded. And some of those reasons we don't necessarily have to get into here because I don't know that we have enough time. But one of the things that the mayor has done as chair of the regional commission is on a recent link trip, we took a lot of those leaders to the suburbs of D.C. And so normally a link trip is where you take a whole bunch of leaders, it's a delegation of folks, and you spend time looking at other jurisdictions trying to learn. And so we recently went to Northern Virginia. That was an intentional decision. It was all about transit and a little bit about data centers, but the intent there was to open people's eyes to the value that transit could bring to suburban communities. And it was very well received by those leaders. We've received nothing but positive feedback.
Hi, well, I live in Powder Springs. I'm just going to be blunt and say that the megatransit option kind of feels like a second class or just a cheap kind of alternative to having any kind of connected transit to the rest of the city. So is there any kind of plan on terms of connecting South Cobb to the rest of Cobb Link and the rest of the ATL system?
All right, so I'll say for microtransit, and one is a pilot, so it's definitely been something that has allowed us to be able to understand what exactly is the ridership demand within this particular area. I think that's the beauty of microtransit. It allows us to be able to identify when it's time for a fixed route, because we want to use it as a tool in the toolbox, not the complete solution for the county. There are plans for us to be able to do more within the South Cobb area, but also even in other parts of the county. That was the whole point of the mobility splash. Like, we literally had those plans, but the funding behind it, we don't have that anymore. So it's a matter of us having to go back to the drawing board a bit, look at the plans we have, and figure out within the means that we have, how do we implement these things little by little and still be able to provide service. So microtransit, and I'm sorry that you feel like it's a lower class, it's about 2,800 something trips that say otherwise, that there is demand and there is ridership that's there, and people are showing that. But it's also something that is, we're trying to just add it to the toolbox so that we know that when we're talking about providing transportation in a very diverse county like Cobb, where you have the Brave Stadium that has a lot of density, but you also have further up in Cobb horse farms. Like, we have to make sure that we have enough diversity within our, I guess, transit arsenal that we can be able to address all the different types of needs within the county.
Sadly, we're going to have to end it there because the library is going to kick us out. We have learned a lot from holding this event, and we want to continue to hold events just like this, and we will take what we learned from holding this event and inform us how we hold future events. That's our show. Thank you to all of our guests for taking part in this special event. The future of transit in Atlanta, it starts now. And Atlanta News First is staying up to date on everything you need to know to help navigate our growing city. Scan the QR code on your screen to join the conversation and get up-to-the-minute notifications about the projects popping up in your neighborhood, sent directly to your phone.